Ever find yourself craving a Dunkin' Donut and thinking, how did this whole thing even get started?
It's kind of mind-boggling, right?
Well, get ready to dive into the story of William Rosenberg, the man who took donuts and coffee and turned them into, well, Dunkin'
Oh,
Donuts.
and it's more than just donuts, right? It's the whole experience, the brand, the way they kind of revolutionized the whole coffee and donut game.
Absolutely. This deep dive is all about spotting those golden opportunities that others miss. Those times when you see potential where others just see a dead end.
Exactly. It's about resilience, about bouncing back from setbacks and turning them into wins.
Exactly. And boy, did William Rosenberg have his share of setbacks. We're diving into his life story today, and trust me, this isn't your typical rags to riches tale. We're looking at this awesome YouTube video about him, and let me tell you, the guy was a visionary.
A true innovator.
Okay, so picture this. It's 1916, Dorchester, Boston. William's just a kid during the Depression.
Tough times.
Tough times. And he's up out there hustling, shining shoes, hauling ice. Talk about a masterclass in work ethic.
He's learning the value of hard work early on. You can really see that drive in him, even as a kid.
Totally. He ends up dropping out of school in 8th grade to help support his family.
Wow, 8th grade.
Yeah, most people would see that as a huge setback, but not William. He lands a job as a telegram delivery boy.
Okay.
And get this, he figures out that the faster he delivers those telegrams, the more money he makes.
Smart kid, already thinking like an entrepreneur, maximizing his output.
Exactly. He's got that hustle, that drive to make things happen. And this is just the beginning. He eventually moves on from telegrams to selling ice cream from those old school refrigerated trucks.
Those things were like the original food trucks.
Right. And this is where he meets a guy named Harry Winokur, an accountant at the ice cream company, Simcoe. Harry becomes kind of a mentor to William, teaching him about business and finance.
That's huge. Having a mentor, someone who can show you the ropes, can make all the difference.
Totally. It's like getting a secret cheat code for the business world. And William, he soaks it all up like a sponge.
He's a fast learner, eager to prove himself.
Oh yeah, he climbs the ladder at Simcoe, going from delivery boy to national sales manager in just 4 years. 4 years.
That's incredible. He obviously had some serious talent and ambition.
He's got the drive, the mentorship, and now the experience. Plus, he marries Harry's sister-in-law and starts a family. Things seem to be falling into place for William. And then, bam, World War II hits. Talk about a game changer.
The whole world gets turned upside down. It's a stark reminder that even when things are going well, life can throw some serious curveballs your way.
Talk about a curveball. William gets drafted, but instead of being shipped out, he finds a job at a shipyard.
Okay.
Now, remember this William we're talking about, always looking for an angle.
Mm.
So he does what any resourceful guy would do. He tells them he's a qualified electrician.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah, he basically bluffed his way in. The guy could barely change a light bulb, let alone rewire a battleship.
Mm-hmm. That's wild. But hey, you gotta admire the hustle, I guess.
Right. And here's the thing about William. He's a fast learner, picks things up on the fly. So he gets this crash course in electrical work from the shipyard guys, proving he's not afraid to admit what he doesn't know. But just as he's finding his footing, tragedy strikes. William's younger brother Donald, who's fighting overseas, is killed in action.
Oh, man. That's just heartbreaking. It's one thing to bounce back from a business deal gone wrong, but losing family like that.
It's unimaginable. And it would have been understandable if he just wanted to give up. But William, he channels that grief into this burning desire to build something that really matters.
Yeah.
He's offered a job at a catering company called Industrial Lunch Services, and this is where his business savvy really starts to shine.
Okay, so this is where that mentorship with Harry starts to pay off, right? He's learned the ropes, he knows the value of ownership.
Exactly. He's not just looking for a paycheck, he wants a piece of the pie. So he does something pretty bold. He turns down their initial offer and instead negotiates for a third of the company ownership.
Wow, that's gutsy. But smart, too.
He even has Harry, his trusty mentor, look over the deal to make sure everything's legit.
He's not letting pride get in the way of making a smart move. That's important.
Totally. He ends up pouring his savings into it, even borrows money from his mom to buy into the company. Talk about putting it all on the line. But here's the thing. Sometimes, even with the best intentions, you can end up in business with the wrong people.
Oh, no, what happened?
Turns out, his partners, they were mixed up in some shady dealings. Black market stuff, William wanted nothing to do with that. So he cuts his losses and decides to start his own catering company.
And who does he bring in as his partner? Let me guess. Harry.
You know it. Trust and shared values, those are crucial in any partnership. And it shows how much faith Harry had in William's abilities.
So this is where the coffee and donuts really enter the picture.
You got it. While working at that previous catering company, William had a light bulb moment. He realized that coffee, it was a huge seller, but it was awful.
Yeah, people weren't exactly clamoring for gourmet coffee back then.
Exactly. It was basically just hot brown water. But William, he had this hunch that if he offered high-quality, freshly brewed coffee, people would actually pay for it.
Now, this is the 1940s, right? Nobody's talking about single origin beans or fancy espresso machines. It was a pretty radical idea.
Total game changer. He invests in this massive stainless steel coffee tank, starts brewing drip coffee in batches, even insists on using real cream and milk. No powdered stuff for William.
He's like a culinary rebel going against the grain.
And it's not just the coffee. He also notices that after the war, there's a shortage of food trucks. So what does he do? He buys up a bunch of old taxis and converts them into these state-of-the-art mobile kitchens.
Hold on, he's essentially inventing the food truck as we know it.
And get this, he calls this new venture Meals on Wheels. Talk about being ahead of his time. So here he is, catering business booming, but you know William never wanted to rest on his laurels. He starts noticing something interesting. Coffee and donuts. Always his top sellers.
A match made in heaven, right?
Right. But back then, donuts weren't exactly, a culinary masterpiece.
More of an afterthought, really.
Exactly. But William, he sees the potential. Just like with the coffee, he's thinking, what if we make these things amazing? Instead of just buying donuts wholesale, he decides we're going to make our own.
Quality control. I like it.
Oh, yeah. He brings in this talented baker, Alvin Johnson, to really perfect those recipes.
Smart move. Got to have the right people on your team.
And this is where things take a turn. Alvin tells William about his old job, this tiny donut shop they had. Turns out that little shop was making more money than their wholesale operation combined.
No kidding. The power of a dedicated storefront.
Light bulb moment, right? William realizes it's not just about making a good donut. It's about the whole experience. So what does he do? He finds this little storefront in Quincy, Massachusetts. History of failed businesses, nobody thought it would work. But William, he's got this knack. He sees potential where others just see a closed door.
He's got that entrepreneurial vision.
And he's got big ideas for this place. He's thinking a place where people can relax, enjoy their coffee and donuts. He even puts in seating, which was practically unheard of at the time.
Revolutionizing the coffee break, one donut at a time.
And get this, he offers 28 different kinds of donuts. 28.
Talk about variety. I mean, how do you even choose?
Right. He calls it Open Kettle at first, later changes it to, you guessed it, Dunkin Donuts. And the rest, as they say, is history.
A true American success story. But it wasn't all smooth sailing, was it?
Not exactly. Remember Harry, his business partner? Well, Harry was dead set against this whole franchising idea. Thought it was too risky.
Franchising was still pretty new territory back then.
Totally. And if that wasn't enough, things get even more complicated with Harry's wife, Etta, who also happens to be William's sister-in-law.
Oh, boy. Family and business, never a dull moment.
To put it mildly, Etta starts to feel like William's getting all the credit for the business's success. People are even calling him Mr. Donut.
Which ironically is what Harry ends up calling his own donut shop after they part ways.
Talk about awkward family gatherings. But in the end, William buys Harry out. It was a financial risk, but it allowed him to finally pursue his vision for franchising Dunkin Donuts.
A bold move. But as we've seen, William was never afraid of taking risks.
And this is where his impact goes way beyond just donuts and coffee. See, back then, franchising, there were no real rules, no playbook. It was the Wild West out there.
A recipe for disaster if you're not careful.
Exactly. And William, he saw the potential for things to go wrong. He realized that for franchising to work, it needed structure, a set of ethical guidelines. So he takes a huge leap and establishes the International Franchise Association, the IFA.
Wow, he's not just building a business, he's building an entire industry.
Seriously, the IFA goes on to set the standards for ethical franchising, creating a framework that benefits countless entrepreneurs across all sorts of industries. Think about it. McDonald's, KFC, Subway, they all owe a debt to William Rosenberg and his vision.
Incredible. From a single donut shop to shaping the landscape of modern business, that's quite a legacy.
Talk about defying the odds. The 8th grade dropout who built a donut and coffee empire, revolutionized franchising, and became a self-made millionaire many times over. William Rosenberg's story really makes you wonder, what seemingly simple idea today could be the next Dunkin Donuts? What's brewing out there right now, just waiting for someone with the vision and drive to bring it to life?
It's an inspiring thought. Proof that with a good idea, a whole lot of grit, and maybe a donut or two along the way, anything is possible.